Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Having a good day today. We are grinding through this show. I hope you guys have had a good time so far. Big game coming up with Notre Dame. We're super excited for it. We're going to get into all of that. Let me fix my screen right quick. Oop, there we go. But we've got some press conferences to go over. Ryan Day, Marcus Freeman with the media today. And this thing's on. And I feel great about Ohio State. Marcus Freeman announced that their starting left tackle is out, which I projected because the kid couldn't put any foot or any weight on his foot. So yeah, it's looking really good for Ohio State. So we're gonna get into that. Take your questions. Happy Sunday! If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. This is going to be a heavy content week for us. We're going to be going every day up until this championship game on Monday night. For those of you that are traveling, travel safe. I will be doing a post game show. Nevada will be with his family at the game, so we will be ready to roll, give you the best coverage in the game per usual, and we're just excited for this week. If you guys want to do something huge for us in a national championship season where we've gone almost every day podcasting, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and also on Spotify. It is 2 seconds to do, and it helps us tremendously. We appreciate you guys that have done that. So with that being said, I'm going to bring in a very road-weary, fatigued Nevadabuck. Nevada, I know it's about 3 a.m. in Finland, so I won't drag you into the depths tonight. So to not bury the lead, Little Nevada got the silver medal and was named outstanding goalie for the entire tournament, in the World Juniors. So congratulations on that. Obviously not the result we wanted, but it was a very veteran Canada team, and she'll be back next year in the World Juniors with a very veteran Team USA, so that'll be excellent. So congratulations to Little Nevada on that. We don't need to talk about the Packers, but at least you've got us still, baby, because we never let you down. You can't lose when you podcast, baby. You can't lose. So but congratulations on that.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's been 13 long days in Finland, and I'm ready to get back home, my brother. So cannot wait.
Well, I know you probably didn't listen to much of what Ryan had to say. Ryan had his general pablum. People asked him about, did he pull a hamstring when Jack Sawyer was running down the field, and all the other hard hitting questions that the media brings to Ryan's feet. But they talked a little bit about Denzel Burke. Denzel obviously was out for the second half, and Ryan declared it was not a performance issue; it was a medical issue, which I believe, because I don't think, unless the kid's just being absolute trash, you're not going to pull a senior for the second half. So he is going to be available full strength for the championship, which is great news. But any thoughts on that? I think that we are maybe as healthy as we've ever been going this late in the season, outside of the season-ending injuries that we had on the O-line. Pretty healthy team. Notre Dame is not healthy. They lost Riley Mills. Their left tackle's declared out. Their right guard is very questionable. Really favorable matchup up front for us with the defensive line versus their offensive line. What are your thoughts as we are literally a week away from the national championship game?
Yeah, no, just I've been kind of spending the time working the phones, kind of getting some medical updates on Will Howard's hand, on JT's ankle, and I had gotten some word on Denzel, that was fairly positive. So no, I agree with you. I think all things considered, we are headed into the national championship game, virtually at full strength, in terms of the last month of football, since we've kind of absorbed the blows that we did, which is really, amazing, absolutely amazing. And, we always talk about looking for the good. I mean, the good on the offensive lines, we've now been playing a lot of depth that's going to help us next year. Guys that we wouldn't have gotten to on the depth chart, Carson may never have played. Austin wouldn't have played much. Luke Montgomery wasn't going to play at all. I mean, so now, we're looking at guys, 4 interior guys on the inside that all have a lot of starts and a lot of big game experience. We saw Jermaine Matthews out there for Denzel. So yeah, no, we're really we're in a good frame of mind. We're in a good physical place. And I think that Ryan, I think this was the game where Ryan kind of dodged his old influences, his worst impulses of maybe trying to be a little bit too conservative. playing a really good Texas team. I mean, not a great Texas team, but a really good Texas team down in the Cotton Bowl, and came away with the win. So the team took another step, but Ryan took another giant step as a coach because he's learning how to win these games, and that's a something. People forget he was a brand new coach, never been a head coach before when we got him. So we're going through the growing pains, the stuff that Urban Meyer did at Bowling Green in Utah. We're getting with Ryan Day here at Ohio State, but now he's starting to come out on the other side of those games and coming out as a winner. And um, given Notre Dame's limitations offensively, and given their injuries on both sides of the ball, I just think they're in for a long day on the 20th, and I'm going to be there for it. And like you said, you're going to be home, just watching,
Chained,
podcasting,
arrested,
change the thing.
chained to the
You're
desk,
gonna
baby. Yes,
You'll
sir.
be there just doing the thing, and I just want you to know how much we appreciate the fact that your firm hand will be on the wheel. Kind of like the captain of the ship, like the captain of the Titanic. They're just his hands on the wheel as it steamed across the North Atlantic. That's how I feel thinking about you back at the Buckeye mothership, taking care of the Scoop family while I'm
I'm
off
like I'm like
gallivanting in Atlanta.
I'm like the captain of the Titanic that saw that iceberg and said, "Hit the gas, baby." I hit the little lever that makes it go like all the way to full steam. Say maybe we could run over that iceberg and just goes crashing into it. So no, people
Oh
don't realize that
God.
like I actually live with Nevada, and so I'm down in my hole right now, and he opens it up before he leaves, and he's got a basket full of of raw meat, and he's got put the lotion on and everything. So before
Oh
he leaves, he
God.
will actually empty my bedpan or wheel me down a new bedpan and hand me my meat, my food that he just
Oh God.
he lowers it down in the bucket for me. So I sit here next
This
to
is
my brick wall and eat.
like Breaking Bad. I'm like Todd on Breaking Bad or something like that,
Yes.
keeping you down there, keeping the cook down there.
Keep on podcasting. You make
uh,
this much money, you can finally get released. No, but in all seriousness, because I've had people offer, hey, I want to go, I got a ticket. And I'm like, and again, I, I love Ohio State football. I love everything about Ohio State football. I don't love going to the games. I would much rather be podcasting because again, podcasting is something that has been awesome for us. And for me to actually watch it and diagnose what's happening, much easier to do on TV. But I do love going to the games. They're fun. It's great. And I hope everyone that goes has a blast. And like I said, the experience will be once in a lifetime because we're guaranteed to win this game. Like this is the easiest national. This isn't Urban Meyer with the Florida Gators. This isn't LSU. This is a wounded Notre Dame team. And again, I'm happy for us because I'm like this is out of that bracket. This is the only. I honestly think Penn State would have been a tougher opponent than Notre Dame, in my opinion. I think Penn State has better players. They have an inferior coach who just cannot win a big game, but they've got legit running backs. Their defensive end, I think, is the best defensive player in the country. He'll probably be a top 3 or 4 pick, and he's really, really good. And we don't have to see that guy, so that's good. I don't think Notre Dame has anything close to that on defense. So this is as good of a scenario as we can have for Ryan Day. And again, I thought what you said was really poignant about Ryan Day. This is a game in the past where, and I don't even want to say that he'd lose these games because I think he's had such horrific luck in some of these big games. I sit there and I'm just like, geez, I mean, this guy can't catch a break, because as much as everyone wants to talk about how great of a coach you are and how genius tactician, luck is so heavily involved in the career of coaches that it's almost insane. And so Ryan, when Chris Olave runs the wrong route against Clemson and Justin throws it to where he's supposed to go and he goes the wrong way and it's a pick, and we missed that field goal versus Georgia, and then they play that lame duck TCU team that they beat by 100 points. He's just had some terrible. It's Bill Parcells. He won 2 Super Bowls. The one Super Bowl is because the guy from the Bills missed a game-winning field goal. If that guy makes that field goal, then all of a sudden, Bill Parcells is looked at as the two ring legend. He's looked at as and winning 1 Super Bowl is obviously incredible, but it's different when you have 2 because then it's not a fluke. Belichick with the Marshawn Lynch thing where Pete Carroll decides we're not going to run Marshawn Lynch on the 1 yard line. We're going to throw a slant and it gets picked. Again, there's a lot of luck in coaching. Bill Belichick, when he's coaching the Falcons, they're down 24-3, And Kyle Shanahan, who's universally reviewed as a guru, the dumbest coach of all time to me, because he decides to throw the ball. They get a holding penalty. If they kick a field goal, the game's over. Instead, they try to be cute, and they end up losing the game instead of icing it, where they had a really good kicker that year, Matt Bryant. So again, coaching is there's a lot of luck, obviously a lot of skill. You don't just luck your way into the national championship game, but Ryan's had some really bad luck where he'd be viewed in a totally different light if he had a couple of like about 5 plays go his way. And again, we're not Mr. Ryan Day, butt buddy friend like the rest of the media. I'm just honest, because I look at some of these things and I'm like, the guy, he's had some terrible breaks, horrific breaks, and this time, everything's breaking his way. Like the Jack Sawyer play. If this was 2019, maybe Quinn throws that ball, and maybe they end up losing that game somehow. But this year, Jack willed him to win, and the defense was excellent. And we didn't play particularly well, I didn't think, on offense, and now Texas didn't either. But that wasn't like a game where I was like, holy, we're clicking on all cylinders. But we had enough to win the game, that's all that matters. At the end of the day, it's like, as much as people love style points, like a win is a win and a loss is a loss. So I think that we'll be much better versus Notre Dame. And Texas was good. I mean, I said going into the game, I mean, their secondary averaged 5.5 yards of passing play, which is the best in the country. So they had the Thorpe Award winner back there. Their defensive line was excellent. So I don't know. Like I said, this is I felt like that was the national championship game, and whoever got to play Notre Dame, Notre Dame will be tough. I mean, the thing, I will give Notre Dame a ton of credit. I know a lot of people on their staff. Joe Rudolph is one of my favorite human beings on the earth, the O-line coach. If Justin Fry became a head coach somewhere and left the program, Joe Rudolph is my first phone call, and I'd offer him $1.5 million to be the O-line coach, because he's that good. And again, Justin has had the best coaching year of his career, because when you see these O-lines suffer like this incredible adversity, Notre Dame lost their starting left tackle in training camp. Good player. And they had Joe Alt go, 6 overall in the draft, and they had their right tackle last year go like 2nd or 3rd in the draft. You got to understand that they replaced those guys, and then those guys got hurt, and now they're down to their 4th and 5th tackles, and their 4th tackle got hurt. So I think when you look at the way that they're still blocking guys and blocking Georgia and blocking Penn State, it's impressive. But I mean, they're down to their like 4th left tackle now. So I mean, JT is wounded. JT's probably 50%, 60%. I'm just from watching him after he got his ankle sprained. He is an absolute warrior villain monster, because I mean, he kept playing on it and he was in a lot of pain. You could tell. I would guess he got it injected at halftime, took the shot, but he's an animal, dude. I mean, that guy, an ankle sprain is no fun, but there are some that you can play on, and he taped it up and tried to roll with it. And I'm sure that they're resting him in practice, because it gets worse when you have to run around on it. But I like our edges a lot this game, and I really like Ty Leak versus their interior guys. So that'll set the tone, and they can't run with our skill guys. There's no chance. So Nevada, how are you feeling about the game this far out?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny because I watched Notre Dame play against USC, and that was late in the year. I want to say that was like November 30th or something. I mean, it was late, and SCA, I want to say, ran up like 35 points on them, and we're moving the ball pretty much up and down the field at will. And so I'm trying to figure out where this narrative began with Notre Dame, that Notre Dame has got like the greatest defense in the history of defense. Is it because they held Georgia with their backup quarterback to 10 points or something like that? Is that where this is all coming from?
I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't think that they're formidable at all. I just think that Drew Aller is so bad that he makes any defense look good at this point. I mean, Drew Aller is, again, he's like your boy Christian Hackenberg. He's the same player. People say he's great. He's amazing. I mean, he's actually a higher rated Christian Hackenberg, because the day of the game, and I'm going to find the article where these ESPN guys are like, if he declares, he could easily be the number 1 pick in the draft. And I'm like, this has to be the worst quarterback draft of all time if Drew Aller is the number one guy. And again, I don't like to bag on Ohio kids because again, I like Ohio high school football, but I'm like, come on, guys. But Will Howard can't play in the NFL, but Drew Aller is the number one pick, and Shador Sanders. Like, in what universe are we living in right now? Like, Shador is gonna be the biggest bust. I mean, the easiest call of all time, But I don't know. I think Notre Dame, they'll play hard. I mean, Marcus has those guys. I give Notre Dame a lot. They are very tough. They play very hard. They're formidable. But I just think that they're going to run into a team that's the team of destiny. That's and they've got the right mindset that you lose this one, it doesn't matter. This is kind of like it's kind of like the Miracle on Ice year where Herb Brooks, they beat Russia in obviously the Miracle on Ice game, and then they got to go play the gold medal game after that. And if they lose that game, then nobody remembers that they beat Russia. So we beat Texas and we beat Oregon and all these great memories. Like, you can't gack it up in this last one. And again, I can't see, because I think that when you have this team that's this senior laden, this focused, and most importantly, and I've said this 1,000 times to you guys, they've lost twice this year. Lost twice. So they know if they don't bring it, if they're not laser focused, that can happen. And again, that to me is a huge benefit. Huge. Humongous. No matter what. I mean, even like Michigan, 23-point favorite at home, and for whatever reason, the scheme, the plays, Will Howard getting it, whatever, they lost that game. So they're going to do everything in their power to close this thing out the right way, become, in my opinion, the best team in Ohio State history. And I know that a lot of people argue with me because we didn't beat Michigan, didn't win the Big Ten, but we ran this playoff table, and if we put all these guys on the field versus any of the 68 team or the 02 team or the 14 team, I think this team would blow them out of the water, just because I think that this is the most talented team we've ever had. But again, this is my opinion, and people can be wrong. But I think that when Chip Kelly's on, real hard to go against. Nevada, we lost on the offensive line, portal kid from Montana State. Moore, he ended up going to Michigan State. No worry there for me. Obviously, I don't think you'll have any worry on that because, that one never made sense to me because he wanted to come here. I think that we just have too much room. We don't have any room at the end. I mean, you've got Luke Montgomery, Tigra, Carson Hinsman, Austin Seyerveld. I mean, you've got a lot of good players up front that are going to be back next year. Never made sense to me. You fine with that?
Yeah, I mean, I like our offensive line room. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I've said this many times. We've had seasons where all 5 starters played every down, and we've had seasons where we never got past guy 6 on the offensive line because of everything would have stopped operating. We had to go to guy 7, and this year we're on guy 9, so we've got a deep room. We're in the national championship game playing guy 9, and we got guys behind him that are really good as well. And then we just threw 2 transfers into the mix that were both starting. One guy started in the Big Ten, one guy started at Rice. So we've got a lot of veteran dudes on. Yeah, I'm really not that broken up about it. But it's always nice to have kids, but portal kids don't want to come here to compete. They don't want to come here to be depth. They want to come here to start. And if you can't guarantee them that they're going to start, I don't know if you should be getting them in the portal, because then if you can't guarantee them that they're going to start, that means they're not that much better than what you have. And if they're not that much better than what you have, then why are you bothering bringing them in? So that's just kind of my full circle argument on portaling and how sometimes these portal kids kind of self-select who you end up with.
Well, I flat out just don't think he's better than the guys we have. I mean, I know that he was a mid-tier, Montana State or whatever, like All-American, but like, what would Austin Seyerveld do to those kids? Like, what would Luke Montgomery do? Like, he'd win the Heisman at that level, And again, I'm not trying to knock it, but it's like, I mean, come on. Like, I've seen All-Americans at different levels. I used to go to Mount Union games all the time because my high school football coach was a defensive coordinator there, and or he's linebackers coach, and he O-line coach. He had a couple jobs there after he left my high school. And like, they had guys that were good. Pierre Garcon was an NFL guy. And they had some linemen that the one lineman won like the Outland Award for Division III. And like, nice player, like good player. But I watched him and I was like, he would get annihilated at Ohio State. I mean, he couldn't hang with our guys, like, cause he had heavy feet, big fat guy. But in D3, he was awesome, because again, the guys that he was blocking were, little tiny, slow guys for the most part. And if he saw anyone that was fast, they were so small that you could just throw them out of the gym. So I'm like, well, when you come to the big leagues, like the guys you go against are big and fast. They're not just one or the other. So again, I like this because I think that again, when you bring in a guy, you better be damn sure that he's better than the guys you got. Because there's a lot of these guys that we've learned and we've really locked in since the Victor Cutler era, Jihad Carter. I think that when we were trying to dip our toe in and find depth guys, it just proved to be pointless because neither of those guys played at all for us. All of a sudden now we're going for guys that are either going to be instant starters or, if they don't start next year, then they'll definitely start the second year. But the 2 tackles we brought in, I think will be our 2 starting tackles next year. Our interior is going to be rock solid. And I think that you throw in Tigra and Luke and put them in the tackle mix, even Austin, you got to find the best 5. And that's going to be kind of the neat chore for Justin Fry during spring football is like, you got to find the best combination. I mean, Carson, I think, is locked in as the center. And then, like I said, you got to figure out what to do with the 3 rotational guys. Is one of those guys good enough to play right tackle? Do you put Luke out there, put Tiger out there because they both played really well. But you've got options, which is important. You've got a nice deep O line coming back, and I like that kind of positioning going forward. Nevada, they start prep. I mean, they started prep as soon as they got off the plane. They're starting to practice. Obviously, it's backed up a little bit, but they'll get some work in over these next few days. Some lighter practices. With the game being on Monday, it kind of pushes everything back 2 days as opposed to the normal Saturday schedule. What are you looking forward to hear about from practice? What is the prospective game plan as you get ready for this Notre Dame game for Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles and Ohio State?
Well, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. I think it's going to be try to get a fast start and try to get Will Howard into a rhythm. They like when Will Howard gets into a rhythm and he has that confidence and they get that confidence in him as well, and they can start running to set up a passing type of situation. And I think for Ohio State defensively, I mean, all you have to do is account for Ryan Leonard. If you account for Ryan Leonard and his legs, and because they're not a threat to push the ball down the field, and with the number of defensive backs that we have with Burke, being available on top of Jermaine Matt. I mean, we just have guys on top of guys on top of guys that we can run out there to really lock down on the outside. And Notre Dame's going to try to throw it to the tight end. They're going to try to run quarterback lead with Leonard, and we've got a front 4 that should eat that stuff up. So I think for the defense, it's going to be about discipline. For the offense, it's going to be about avoiding penalties and about getting that fast start and getting Will into into a groove. And I think there's lots of ways that you can do that. There's lots of ways that you can involve J.J. Smith that also involve easy throws for Will. Kind of a la that throw that from behind the back, behind the line of scrimmage in the early in the Rose Bowl. I think they're going to start doing more and more of that stuff. They're going to make those defensive backs for Notre Dame run to cover our guys all over the field. Because, again, Al Golden loves to run those man schemes. And when you're bringing guys in motion, that means somebody's following them all the way across the field, having to navigate through linebackers and field judges and players going the other way as well. And I think Ohio State hopes to take advantage of some of the benefits that has from a man defense with some misdirection, crossing patterns, and other things like that. And I think we'll see those things feature prominently in the national championship game.
I think we're going to see a lot of the Oregon ordeal where you see the shift with the motion. Because, again, they're a man team. But I think that if they play man, it's going to be like committing suicide versus Ohio State. If you want to play man versus JJ, then have fun. But I think that you're going to see early on in the game, again, Urban Meyer used to always talk about how there's kind of a feeling out process. Because especially when there's a couple extra days, you can add some wrinkles. Now, you're not going to change everything, but you can change some things. And you got to kind of figure out how a team is going to play you, who they're going to take away. Obviously, early on in the game versus Texas, you could tell that they were not going to let JJ beat them. They were not going to let JJ put up some 190-yard, 3-touchdown stat line. Because it basically, double teamed him with a safety over top of that. So it was like a bracket and a safety. So that's why Cardell had the best game of his career, and Mecca and even G. Scott and everybody else ate except JJ, which is fine. I mean, again, that's part of being the Optimus Prime, is that you're going to get a lot of attention, and some days the teams are just going to say we might lose this game, but we're not going to lose to JJ. So we'll see if that's going to be Marcus's thought, because JJ could easily be the MVP of this game if they play man. It could be a bludgeoning. But again, Chip, when teams were running that, trying to man up with a guy, match a guy, go corners over, they're going to run these guys around a little bit. They're going to get up, shift real quick, then motion a guy across. And because again, when you play man and you motion guys, there's a lot of times that the corner or the nickel or whoever has to go with the motion gets caught up in the mix, because it's not like you're just running in a straight line. You have to go follow a guy, and you have to kind of bow behind the linebackers, and they don't give you time to get set up and get your bearings. They sap the ball a lot of times, and JJ might be sprinting so far away that you can't get to him. They throw him the ball, and then you got to try to tackle him with all that space. So again, Chip's no dummy, but I love our matchups on the edges. I think our offensive line and our scheme has played really well, and we've blocked the last four teams we've played. That's as good of a stretch of fronts as we've seen, starting with Michigan. Obviously we didn't play great against them, but going Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, that's the best 4-game stretch of defensive lines that we've ever played against, ever in the history of the program. NFL players across the board, first rounders. We've seen Donnie's battle tested, because he blocked Abdul Carter from Penn State in his first game, and I was like, well, he hung in there. I mean, they gave him a chance. He gave up 2 sacks, and it was on the road in Happy Valley. But I was like, he's blocking the best player in the country in Happy Valley. First start at left tackle. I was like, there's nothing that he'll ever go against that's harder than that. And he's progressively gotten better and better and better. He was the offensive player of the game. And I said, like, when he made that move, again, I wish I should pull these clips. I said he has a legitimate chance to become a legend. I mean, it's the most selfless move in school history. It reminds me of when Thayer Munford went from tackle to guard. And there's a comfort that isn't there. And Thayer's, I think, was harder because Thayer had never played guard before. Donnie played tackle in high school. So again, playing tackle, getting out there in vertical setting, he hasn't done it in a while, but it's kind of like riding a bike. Once you've done it, you can kind of get back to it a little easier than if you've never done it. And he's been great. I mean, he's really been good, and he's enhanced his draft profile. And I said when we initially weren't sure of our tackles 2 years ago, going into last season in the spring before we got Josh Simmons, I said I would play Donnie Jackson at left tackle. And this is when we were trying to play Josh Fryer at left tackle and wasn't going too hot. And then we ended up getting Josh Simmons out of the portal after spring. I still said I'd put Donnie at left tackle. I'd put Simmons at right tackle, put Fryer at guard. Fryer likes to play guard. He wants to play guard. He's just kind of stuck playing tackle because we don't have anybody able to take the spot for him. But I thought that Donnie would be a really good left tackle because his game, it's not, again, this isn't a slight, but he's a finesse player more than a power player. And sometimes we don't get the push on interior double teams because but finesse in pass protection is great. He's a great pass protector. Sometimes we don't pulverize guys in the running game as much, but he's better at that at tackle than he is at guard, at moving guys on double teams. When he's the outside guy, he's the guy that knocks him down. The inside guy's the guy that sets him up on the double team, and he's the guy that knocks him down. He's better at that. And again, I'm the same as Donnie. Like, I mean, I was a better tackle than guard, and I was more comfortable at tackle, and he looks more comfortable at tackle. Now in the league, he'll probably be a guard, but if you're in a pinch and you've got a tackle get hurt in the NFL, and these tackles all seem to get hurt in the NFL, then if you put Donnie out there, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because he's a great athlete and he's really strong. Like, he's a 450-pound bench press guy, and when you're out there cruising back and you get to throw one of those two-handed shots at one of those DNs and hit him right in the head, like, they don't like that. They don't want that smoke. So But I'm just proud of Donnie. Any thoughts about it? We'll dig into these super chats and knock this thing out.
No, I mean, Donnie Jackson's been one of the great stories of the season. We had called it at the time. Not saying we're right on everything, but we were right on that one. We're like, Donnie's probably a better tackle when he is a guard. So this may be a blessing in disguise because we have more interior guys, and Donnie's more naturally suited to be a dancing bear out there. So that one worked out. But nice to see good things happen to good people. Donnie's just made himself a lot of money. As you rightfully pointed out, just about everybody who came back made themselves money, and that doesn't always happen. Sometimes guys come back and they don't have as good a year. They come back and the draft stock gets worse. But literally across the board, every player that came back from Ohio State is going to make more money in the NFL for having come back, and that's a heck of a story to tell anybody else that's considering coming back in the future, because it sure as all worked out really well this year.
Well, and that would be my first thing. Like if I'm Ryan Day, I'm sitting in the office right now, and I've got these kids coming in from the portal that are juniors that got a year left, and I say, look, this is here's the draft rankings from the GMs from the guys that were juniors, and they came back. They all got paid to come back, which is great. I mean, it's awesome because then there's no, like I said, I love that these guys have an option to actually come back and make money. It's not just come back and be, be in jail for a year and you don't have, you're dirt poor, destitute, mom's still destitute, whatever. Because again, that drove a lot of guys to the NFL early that probably shouldn't have went. Now these guys get serious money. They get to play another year. Again, like if Jack Sawyer would have left after last year, he probably would have been 3rd or 4th round pick, maybe 5th round, probably 4th round pick, I'd say. And like, what would his legacy have been? Would have been non-existent. Now he's a legend of Ohio State. He's going to be a national champion captain, made a bunch of NIL money. It could be a 1st round pick. I mean, look at how he's turned on these last few games. Like, I mean, could he, I'm not saying he's as good as TJ Watt, but I mean, TJ Watt's hit the wall and he didn't have a stat in the last like 3 games or something crazy. So I don't know. Like I said, if you get Jack, you're going to get a guy who's going to bring it every day. He's going to do the right things every day. He's going to be productive. And the thing about Jack is he's getting much better. He's not a finished product yet. He's getting better week over week, and he's dominating these playoffs, which has been great. But I think that you give a lot of credit to Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, Jim Knowles, Mickey Marotti, and these position coaches for developing these guys and pushing guys that were already at a really nice high level to an even higher level. And I mean, JT better, Tyleek better, in better shape, Jack Sawyer better, Cody Simon off the charts. Cody Simon's the guy that, again, I said 3 years ago, and there's documented evidence that I thought he was going to be the next AJ Hawk at Ohio State, and people made fun of me. They said, "Oh, Kirk, you're a genius. You're so brilliant." And then you watch him, and you're like, "Well, looks like I was right. Look at his statistics. Look at his leadership. Look at his speed. Look at how good of a blitzer he is." I mean, the only reason he's not AJ Hawk is he just was injured, so he's not going to start for 3 years and have the gaudy stats that AJ had, because AJ started as a sophomore, junior, senior. And frankly, when you don't get that momentum going on the awards circuit, frankly, people don't know you. You start as a sophomore, then by your junior, you're all Big Ten, All-American candidate. Then by your senior, you're like a preseason All-American. So he was so far behind on a lot of the award circuit. Plus, we didn't promote him. So like people don't even know that Cody Simon exists. He wasn't even All Big Ten this year, which is a joke. Again, I look at some of those guys, like if they did the conference awards and the national awards after this playoffs, like, how does Caleb Downs not win the Thorpe? How does JJ not win the Blitnikoff? How does Cody Simon not get more national recognition? But again, we don't promote these guys at all. So again, you kind of get what you pay for when you have a joke of an SID at this point. But I feel for these kids, but they are going to win the big prize, and that's all that really matters in life, is winning that big ring. And I'm just excited for Cody and even Will Howard, man. Like, look at how his life has changed. From being a guy, late round pick at Kansas State, to how he's developed and become better every week, accurate, leader. And again, that's why I laugh when people say he can't play in the NFL. I'm like, do people actually watch the NFL that say that? Do you see some of these quarterbacks that are out there? I was like, they probably don't, but just my opinion. All right, Jerry McStevens, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Any concerns about Howard's hand JT's ankle, Cody's knee, or anyone else? I'll start. Nothing on Will Howard's hand didn't affect him. It's his offhand. I'm sure it's got an ice bag on it, but he got smacked by that helmet, and I'm sure it hurt like hell. But that's it. JT is gonna have an ankle sprain until after the season. He'll probably have to take a few weeks off when he's done, and I'm sure that they're limiting his snaps in practice to keep it from flaring as much as they can. I'm sure that they're treating it 4 or 5 times a day. I'm sure he's got an ice boot on it all the time, but nothing you can really do with an ankle sprain other than strap it up and go. Cody's knee, I think he'll be fine. He's an animal. Nevada, anything else on the injuries?
No, I think that's right. I mean, I don't think that there's really. I mean, obviously Denzel, seems to be fine. Cody's not even an issue. JT was running really well even at the end of the game, and so no, we do not have any injury excuses at all, and that's a really enviable position to be in, considering our opponents just been ravaged by injuries to key guys. So they're kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum of where Ohio State is from a health perspective.
Jerry, another great question. Thanks for the 5. What order would you rank the teams we've played? Oregon, Tennessee, Texas, Penn State, then at Notre Dame. Do you think Notre Dame is number 5 on the list? I would go Texas first, Oregon second, Penn State third, Tennessee fourth, Notre Dame fifth. And my reasoning for picking Texas over Oregon is their defense. I thought Oregon's defense was atrocious. I thought that Nevada kept banging they suck on defense drum. And again, I told people, I literally, the guy at Twin Peaks, and I'm going to figure out his name because B Moses' friend. Literally, he's like, oh, we can't score on them. I'm like, dude, did you watch them versus Penn State in the Big Ten championship? Penn State had receivers, and Penn State's receivers, I could lock those guys down. And they have the worst group of receivers in America. And they were just running free, blown coverages. They made Drew Aller look like Tom Brady. And so, I was like, if you can make Drew Aller look that good throwing the ball, then you have to just have a grossly inferior defense. So Texas's secondary was legit. Their defense was legit. We beat them, tight game. I don't think either team played their A game, but we got it out and won it, which is fine. And then I think that Penn State is better than Tennessee, just because I don't know. With Tennessee, I wasn't really impressed. I thought physical team, good team. Running back got hurt, so that kind of skews it a little bit for me. But I think Penn State's got 2 legitimate running backs. I just have so much respect for Abdul Carter. I talk about him all the time. He's a legitimate Micah Parsons type pass rusher who's a problem, who can wreck games. So I would not want to see him again. I'd much rather play Notre Dame. And then Notre Dame's last because I just think that all those other teams are just better and more talented. Nevada, do you have would you put Oregon at 1? Any disagreements on the list?
No, I mean it's a little hard to take Penn State over Notre Dame, considering the fact that they played and Notre Dame won. But I generally would agree with that. I'd say certainly.
If I said Nevada, okay, you're the czar of college football, and you could for this next game we could play either Penn State or Notre Dame. What one would you pick if you're trying to ensure Ohio State's best ensure Ohio State could win? Which team would you pick as the weaker of the two?
This year I'd pick Notre Dame.
Okay.
Just because we've talked about the difficulty of beating a team twice in the same season. Yep. I think that would be something for sure. And like you said, Abdul Carter. I think there's a lot of reasons. I don't know what it is with Notre Dame, and I just feel like maybe there's something I'm missing. But there's just nothing about Notre Dame that is scary to me. There's nothing. It's not like they have big speed on the outside. It's not like they have a dominating defensive line. A quarterback like a Quinn Ewers who can throw it all over the line. I'm trying to make an argument for where they're going to dominate Ohio State, and I'm just really having a difficult time coming up with it.
Yeah, they're I think in the hundreds throwing the ball this year, and they're not as good as the team that we saw last year. They don't have Joe Alt, and again, their right tackle was a 2nd round pick, and and they beat up front. They had Audric Esteban who led the nation in rushing, I think, last year. So they're not as good of a team as they were last year. Now, last year they lost to Marshall, and they had some more hiccups, and and they've managed to win some games this year, and they've had some luck where they played Georgia with their backup quarterback and that type of thing, and they played Indiana, and we played Indiana too. But I don't know. Like, I mean, Penn State, that tight end is really good. It's hard to beat a team twice. I don't know. Like, I'd much rather play Notre Dame, and that's why I put them below them. Because again, I kind of ranked them in the order of who do I want to see, who would I not want to see. Jerry, again, thank you. Score and prediction and percent you think of us losing. I'll do this. Nevada usually waits a little bit. I'm going to go, I think, like 42-21, 42-14, 42-21, something like that. I just think that we're just better than they are. I think that this is a team that's got the will to win, and they're a team of destiny. And again, this is a team that's battle hardened because they went through a lot of adversity, and I think that they're gonna lay it on these guys. And I just don't think Notre Dame's very good. Now Penn State has the worst receiving core in America, so they were kind of one dimensional. But they ran all over Notre Dame, and I think that we're gonna run all over them too. We're gonna scheme them up the way we schemed up Oregon. Trey is going to be the MVP of the game. Like, go look at the stats, man. Penn State was mauling these guys on the ground, and we're better than Penn State is. So, Nevada, I won't let you do. I know you hold your prediction until a little closer, but that is mine. And percent of us losing is 0. I don't know how we lose this game, short of some sort of knock on wood, crazy, devastating injury, like to Will Howard. Basically, that's the only way we can possibly lose. Nevada, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're using a little bit of hyperbole when we say 0%, but yeah, I'd put the percentage of Ohio State losing as really low, and it would take a series of unfortunate events, and it would have to take a Will Howard injury, because you could virtually afford injuries at any other position on the field, but that's the one that could actually make an impact, and Will's proved a lot of things, but he is certainly durable on top of everything else.
Dub V Buckeye, thank you for the 10. I want to point to a mindset that showed on the defense in the final stand in the Alamo on 2nd and goal on TV. Focused on Kid McDonald, looked at his face, smiling, shaking his head, saying, "Come on." Yeah, and they get that from Jim Knowles. Jim Knowles is Mr. Give me an inch, we'll defend it. Mr. Hey, put us in the worst circumstances, tilt the field against us. 1st and goal from the 1. On the 1, 4 minutes to go. So there's no time factor. There's nothing, and we'll stop you. Like, that's the hardest possible situation to be put in, and they didn't give up no points because the guys stood up. Caleb Downs made a play. Sark went full bonehead mode with that toss on the 1 yard line, but hey, he thought that he saw something. They run toss crack on the 1 foot line, which again, God bless him, but we stuffed it out. And again, that's because of Tyleek. It's because of Ty Hamilton. Because of Caden, because they're like, we can't win inside versus those 3. Because when they run our diamond defense on goal line, and those 3 guys cover up the center and the 2 guards, they can't move those guys. Because Tyleek is a werewolf playing defensive tackle, and he kills guys, mauls guys. And again, I can't stress enough how good Tyleek is, because he should be an All-American. He should be at every award ceremony. But I watch him push these guys backwards, and there's like, well, we're not going to try those guys. We're going to try to get out on the edge. And then you've got Caleb Downs and Lathan Ransom as 2 erasers that knock that thing out. So, but yeah, that's all because of Jim Knowles. Again, you got to play like you're coached. And Jim Knowles has set an attitude in that room that we frankly didn't have under Kerry Combs. Like, Kerry Combs had the fake toughness and poor scheme, and guys were wanting to kill each other because they had said they were put in such bad situations. And Jim Knowles rectified all of that. And again, that's credit to Ryan Day, who made the change. Kerry Combs, popular guy, big time content generator, meme generator, and whatever. And I know Kerry. I worked with Kerry, but he loves to talk, and it is what it is. And Jim Knowles showed up and just went to work. And it took a couple years to get everything right, but once these guys got the system down pat, it's been infallible. So, it's my opinion. Nevada. Your thoughts on Caden McDonald and the look on his face, smiling, shaking his head, saying, "Come on," when they had 1st and goal from the 1 yard line?
Yeah, it's an attitude. Those guys just believe, and when you have belief and you combine that with just amazing talent and with great coordination, this is what you see. But it's just I don't want to go back on the Wayback Machine, but man, there were a lot of people that wanted to get rid of Jim Knowles after his first season. And the only reason I bring stuff like that up is I'm not trying to pillar people or I'm just trying to say, guys, the next time this happens, because it will happen another time, try to have a little bit of patience, try to have a little bit of perspective, try to, be a little less reactionary on some of your takes, because a lot of people own the Jim Knowles has to go. And that was a popular take even after the first time the Oregon game won this year, that Jim Knowles has to go. And look at our record in top 5 opponents. Well, look at it now. What we're doing, it's the top 5 teams week in and week out. So, cautionary tale, just sometimes try to be a little less reactionary and have a little bit more patience, and sometimes things will work out.
Yeah, I just think that it's something where you look at uh how this thing's changed since, I mean, really in 4 years since that that Alabama game and then that Rose Bowl game, and how this defense is so coordinated and so tough. And again, thank God for NIL, because I mean, throwing Caleb Downs and David Igbenogson has really amplified this team. So but obviously people that don't like NIL, they don't love Ohio State, because it's gotten us Will Howard, Caleb Downs, Quinn Sean. It's been awesome. So Ian Bates, thanks for the deuce. Malik Zaire woke from the dead. He's back trolling. Nevada, do you even remember who Malik Zaire is?
Yeah, no, I remember Malik Zaire, but I mean, whenever I hear people and I see their posts and I see it just um, they're so desperate to be relevant. And I just always say the key to being a good troll is that people can't know that you're trolling. But Malik Zaire's troll game is obvious. So when your troll game is obvious, I don't even listen to what you're having to say, because I know you're trolling.
Well, Malik was kind of a guy that was kind of a late riser. I think he was from Kettering Alter, one of the Dayton schools, and he was a guy that we were getting.
He wanted to be a Buckeye, and we didn't want him.
Well, here's the thing. Not only because this is when your boy was sitting in the staff room recruiting meetings, and we had a lot of talks about Malik. We evaluated him 10 times, and talking Tom Herman, talking Tim Hinton, who recruited the area. He's on staff still. And we had a coach literally ask his head coach, do you think that we are missing anything with this kid if we let him go to Notre Dame? And his head coach in high school said no. So that was the final verdict and straw that gave us assurance. Because again, when you're Ohio State, you let really good kids that are from the state of Ohio go elsewhere. And if they come back to bite you, you look like a moron. It happened with Antoine Winfield Jr., who's playing Sunday Night Football right now. If Drew Aller goes #1 in the draft, like, did we miss on him? Because remember, we took Quinn Ewers, and then we as soon as Quinn Ewers decided to declare early, Ohio State immediately reached out to Drew Aller, who was committed to Penn State, through our guys, and said, hey, would there be any interest in you committing here? And so then after he didn't do that, we went to Devin Brown. So again, that's what really happened. That's not revisionist history, but that's just, so there's a lot of heat when you skip out on some of these Ohio kids. Cause again, there's going to be some Ohio kids that you're going to say there's always the, damn, how did you not take that guy? And again, Antoine Winfield Jr. is like the dumbest one ever, because his dad's maybe one of the best corners we've ever had. And, he turned into a multi-time All-American and the highest paid safety in the NFL. So that's one, like, if in doubt, you probably take that guy. But, there's a lot of kids at Ohio that you just can't take. I mean, we didn't take Luke Kuechly. He's probably going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer in the NFL. He went to Boston College, and we took a couple of turds over him. So that's part of being at Ohio State and development and late bloomers and whatever. So yeah, kind of is what it is, and it stinks. But Malik was never a real take for us. But he got a lot of recruiting hype, and I always caution you guys, if you knew the people that did these recruiting rankings, none of them have ever played football. Most of them have never coached football. And they're just journalists that wanted to basically be fanboys for teams or get press passes so that they could get a free ticket to the games. And so, when you look at, if these guys were true excellent talent evaluators, why aren't they general managers in the NFL? Why aren't they pro personnel directors? Why aren't they climbing the rankings to get more important jobs than being a recruiting analyst for Rivals or for 247 or for On3 or for some independent site? So because if you're that good and that accurate, then all of a sudden people say, well, damn, the Patriots should hire him to be their next personnel guy because he nails these evaluations. So or hell, Mark Pantoni could hire him to work for him. Pantoni's got 20 guys that work for him now. So if a guy was really that good, we'd probably hire him because we pay way better than these sites do. So but that's just my opinion on these recruiting rankings. And so but yeah, that's the story on Malik, and that's the truth. Kevin Newby, thanks for the 5. Cody hovering over the B gap was clutch as Jack scoop and score. Right tackle bit for a split second, and it was a wrap. Nevada OH. Yeah, that's part of Cody Simon, and when you have speedy, explosive blitzers. Again, when I watched Cody on film, I saw that, and I was like, it's like AJ. And so when a guy threatens your gap, your inside gap, and when the protection dictates that you take the most dangerous rusher, if Cody Simon acts like he's rushing for a split second, then that tackle has to hesitate. Then all of a sudden, when he drops out and sinks to his zone, it's hard to get around on a guy like Jack Sawyer. I mean, I had that happen to me literally in practice, and the two guys I had to decide between were James Laurinaitis and Vernon Golson. So I had the Butker or whatever he won, Lombardi. I don't know what James. He won a bunch of the big trophies, 3-time All-American, and I had Vernon who went 6th in the draft. So I had to pick between those two. Which one is going to get to the quarterback faster? So I sat back, and the only reason I remember this play is because Luke Fickell wanted to kill me because I sat back and it was a 3-step drop. And on 3-step, we're allowed to cut people. Now, you're not supposed to cut a 3-time All-American in practice, but I said, screw it. I'm going to get my block and not get yelled at. So I'm going to cut James. So I sat back, and at the last second, when I determined James was closer, I cut James Laurinaitis. And Luke Fickell wanted to kill me. And I didn't care because I was like, dude, it's a legal block. There was nothing dirty about it, and it can happen in any game. And I'm just trying to get my job done. Which, again, at the end of the day, as long as it's legal, I'm going to do it. If it's legal, and especially if it's very effective, I'm going to do it. So I cut James, and I love James. James Laurinaitis is my favorite teammate of all time, and he's the only person on this earth I would feel bad about cutting. But didn't get hurt, completely fine. I made the block, and we got the ball out. So at the end of the day, I was about business, and that's it. So, James, I hope your knee's okay. Love you to death, bro. But great call, Kevin. Again, that's why you mix up those lines. You guys got to understand, a lot of the sacks that happen in football, it's not because of some amazing DeMarcus Ware spin move or some Von Miller speed rush. It's because the offensive line gets confused and they take the wrong guy, or they're a split second late and it frees the guy up. So confusing the O-line is as valuable as recruiting talent. So when you have really talented guys and confusion like we do now in our pass rush package, it's difficult, very difficult. Will for 8282, thanks for the 5. Does G. Scott have any years left? No, he does not. And how's Will's hand? Also, this game is not a gimme. Notre Dame is a great team. Nervous out of my mind. Love you guys. Nevada OH. Yeah, G's done. He came out on senior day. He's gone. Will's hand will be fine. Notre Dame's not a great team. They lost to Northern Illinois. I mean, they're good. I'll give them that. They beat Georgia, obviously, which is that's tough. Georgia's very talented. Beat Penn State. But, Penn State running that 2-minute drill and having Drew Aller throw it in the middle of the field was an all-time James Franklin meme. But hey, they're there. They're in the dance, and get a ship and a share and see what we can do. But I think and there's a reason why we're like 9-point favorites in this game. It's not because people are really scared of Notre Dame's offense. But your thoughts, Nevada? Do you think the game is not a gimme? And then do you think that Notre Dame is a great team?
Definitely not a great team, but definitely not a gimme. Just because of, they say styles make fights, and this is a style that Ryan has struggled with. And, we're going to find out a lot about Ryan and Chip and how much they've evolved and learned and grown. And I think there should be no problem. But if you look back historically, we've had some problems against teams like this. But I just think we're so much better than Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's so beaten up that I think it's going to be difficult for them to keep up, because we will score. And He threw for like 550 yards against these guys again. And I'm not. This wasn't back in September. This was November 30th. So I think we'll be lighting them up through the air. And once we do that, then we're gonna be able to run it, and then that's a wrap.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna get ugly. Clay Mountain Gilly Alders, thank you for the 10. I will be watching in Vegas 120 for SHOT Show. That's a great convention. Where's the best place to watch the game? Sportsbook, which one? Or is there a Buckeyes bar? I'd love to share the experience with other Buckeyes. Nevada, do you have any idea on this? I mean, sportsbook, obviously you're gonna say Circa has got the best sportsbook because it's like a 10 miles long.
Circa's the best sports book in the world, and
Yeah.
so absolutely go there. As for Buckeye, there's a million Buckeye bars. You can literally just Google Buckeye
Yeah.
bars in Las Vegas. There's a million of them. And I used to go to the Tap House on West Charleston, and you'd go there for the Browns Bar, Buckeye Bar, and there'd be 200 people in there. But there's at least a half a dozen Buckeye bars in there. But just go to the Google machine and you'll find them.
Yeah, I think and Circa, I think, is by far the best sports book. So
No doubt.
Nevada's right on that. And plus the stadium swim, I don't know if you swim at all, but like the stadium swim looks amazing where they've got that giant screen and the pools. I think that's at the same place, right? That's at Circa.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, like if you want to go out and I don't know if you're a swimmer, but I love water. So it's like if there's a giant pool and I can watch the game there and there's pretty cocktail girls walking around delivering drinks, like I'm about that life, especially if it's hot out. Now this time of year in Vegas, it's not always super hot, but if the thing's heated, then that'd be a good spot too. Good people watching as well. Daryl Shona Barger, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you for being an ultra member as well. Watching the PSU Notre Dame game, the ND offensive line looks fat, out of shape, even though they seem to have done okay so far in the postseason. Thoughts, Nevada OH? I don't think they're out of shape. I just think linemen are generally fat, but I think that they are decimated. I mean, they are down 4 or 5 starters. They're actually even worse off than we are. I think that we have more high end talent because Josh Simmons is better than any of the guys they've had, and so is Seth. But when you're down to your like third left tackle, then it gets a little sketchy, and so they don't have Donnie Jackson sliding out there to do it. So I think that JT's going to wear that kid out. I think that Caden Curry and some of those guys are going to wear those guys out. So I don't know, but I love our matchup of our D line versus their O line, just because of the attrition. Now last year it was a different story when they had Joe Alt, who went 6th in the draft and was an excellent player, and they had their right tackle. I think went in the 3rd round. The right tackle left early last year, so they had to replace their 2 really good tackles with a good left tackle who got hurt, and then they like I said, they just lost their starting tackle versus Penn State. He got hurt early in the game. They had to put their 3rd guy out there, and it was tough. So, like I said, I would much rather play these guys because I like playing a beat up offensive line as opposed to Penn State, who kind of ran all over those guys. Nevada, your thoughts on Notre Dame's offensive line looking fat and out of shape?
Yeah, no, I echo what you're saying. They're just beat up. I mean, as much problems as we've had with injuries, their problems have been exponentially worse. And I don't think our talent was as good as ours to begin with. So they've got real issues up front on both sides of the ball, frankly. And I think that's ultimately going to be their undoing.
D Sonny, thank you for the 5. What do you think that Texas defender said to Trey to make him get the penalty? I don't know. It probably wasn't anything super derogatory, but sometimes you just get a little heated in the moment, especially if you don't have a great play. I had one personal foul in my career. I hit some Illinois DB, like I kind of smacked at him, and he felt like he got struck by lightning, and so of course I got 15 yards and graded down on the play. That was in 06 when we sucked an egg out there. But sometimes you're just frustrated because the game's not going great or you're not playing great. But Trey's got a pretty level head, and I would bet a lot of money we're not going to see another personal foul out of him. But again, I don't know. Like I don't think it was. In this day and age, these kids aren't super derogatory. But the kid at Oregon did spit on Davison, but I don't know what he could have said to Trey to get that. But I just think Trey was probably a little frustrated. Your thoughts, Nevada?
I think Trey got kicked. I think he was when he was down. The guy kicked / stepped on him, and Trey was mad when he got up, and so it was a dirty play. And always as always, the retaliator got caught and looked bad, and was certainly a costly penalty. Took away our momentum for about 4 or 5 series after that.
Oh yeah, it was brutal. I mean, it was like we took the train off the tracks, but we put it back on, which was good. Yeah, I think that some these kids are crazy too, because none of these guys wear knee pads now, and none of them wear mouthpieces either. Like, because it's cool to like wear a mouthpiece but not wear it, just have it flopping around when you're running. And these guys, like, they try to roll their shorts up as fast as high. Like Quinshaw's was like mid thigh, and I'm like, dude, like if you take a helmet to your kneecap, man, that's gonna screw you up. But hey, God bless them. And again, like that's become a thing that'll probably come back in where they'll start penalizing guys for not having their pants below their knees. Which again, I don't care; it doesn't bug me at all. But that was like a big thing when we played, is that they'd check for our pads, and when they enforce that, they enforce it. But someone's gonna get their knee screwed up with the way these guys do that stuff. There's me being old head boy. Tom Gombar, thanks for the 10. Ohio State is about to become the only program in history with natties in all eras. Poll BCS 4 team and now 12 team. Greatest, most consistent program of all time. That is a great antidote, Tom. And that's what I've said for a while. I'm like, guys, like, as much as everybody wants to complain about everything, I'm like, this has been the most consistently dominant program in college football by far. And we're going to be great again next year. But your thoughts on that, Nevada? Hitting, because again, with that 4 team or closing, like, there's not many teams that can claim that. And Bama's, they're, floating at the bottom of the ocean at this point. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, well, it's funny. There was a post on the board by one of our posters talking about how he'd been a guy that was really complaining about the team throughout the year, and he's like, and I don't want to hear all this revisionist history from people that said that they believed that this team was going to be really good, because nobody believed that. And I'm like, no, Kirk and I never stopped believing that this team was going to be really, really good. So no, it's Ohio State's good every year. Ohio State's been good for a long time. But this particular Ohio State team is so insanely talented. It was just a matter of time until they put it together, started, played one complete game, and then used that as a jet, a launching pad onto great things. But yeah, I think, yeah, this team could certainly go down. One more game to go, but you get that one done, then you are absolutely on the pantheon of great teams for Ohio State, and maybe the best team of all time here.
Yeah. Paul, what's up, brother? Paul Lewis, thank you for the 50. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being a Hall of Famer, being my dude. Again, I hope you're having a great new year. He says, hi, guys. This is a good one. Question, if you can keep only one, JJ or Caleb Downs, who are you picking? Nevada, that's a toughie. Nevada, if you can only keep one, who are you taking? I'll let you go first.
Caleb Downs, just because I love defense, and I think we have a lot of great wide receivers. Nothing like JJ, but I just think, as a defensive guy, a guy who loves the 10-0 game or whatever it is, give me Caleb Downs, because he's spectacular.
Well, I'm in the same universe that you are, just because we've got like Mylan Graham, who's in mothballs right now, the 5-star wide receiver, didn't play at all this year. And with Caleb, I mean, this is an absolute no-brainer. You have to keep Caleb Downs, because we lose Cody Simon, we lose Lathan Ransom, Denzel Burke's gone, Jordan Hancock's gone. Maybe we'll keep Davison, I don't know. But I think that's the problem, is like when you look at where are we the thinnest, and where do we need the leadership, and where do we need the communication? Like, Caleb Downs is the only answer here. I mean, I love JJ Smith to death. I mean, he's not, because the hard part about like these guys is like, if you splice everything down, I mean, they are both impeccable character, exceptional work ethic, role models. I mean, they could both be captains next year, and I wouldn't blink an eye. But it just comes down to scarcity. We have a very deep receiver room. Quincy Porter looked great in the Navy All-American game, which is great. Now it's called the Navy instead of the Army All-American game. So we got a lot of receivers. DBs, we're going to need someone to help get these guys lined up next year. And Caleb will be a captain next year for sure. And it's got to be Caleb. So, but Paul, that is an awesome question. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for your continued support of Pay It Forward. Love you to death, brother. I hope you have a great night. Dave Mathis, thanks for the deuce. The Jack Strip 6, and also thanks for being off River, is what I'm calling it. Nevada OH. Did we discover it? Did we figure this out yet?
We haven't come up with, there hasn't been one name that is the clear winner yet. So we're still debating. So that's got as much chance to be the winner as any of them. But I don't know. I think it's kind of like we'll know it when we hear it, and I'm not sure that's it. But I think it's a good suggestion.
What if we called it Jessica Alba Buck?
I see now. That's a win. That's a winner.
Is that a winner? Is that a T-shirt?
That
we put that on the shirt.
Put the into the blue scene from her swimming down there to the they're saying that that's a winner.
Yes, her when Honest Brand goes public and you're the Belt Stock Exchange and clapping and stuff, like that scene with the deep blue like playing on the big screen behind it, that'd be perfect, right?
This is absolutely perfect.
This is what I'm saying. Put that on the board at Circa.
I love it.
Oh God, Review Tube, thanks for the 5. With 3 playoff games where Will Howard has played exceptionally well, what's the latest chatter on Will's NFL draft stock? I just can't see him getting out of the 3rd round at the worst. I mean, again, I watch all these bad quarterbacks in the NFL, and you're telling me that you can't take Will Howard and like develop him and have him go out there and throw the ball and his escapability. I don't know. And again, people can say I'm crazy, but I can't see it. And quarterbacks are like gold in the NFL. If you look at Jaden Daniels and hell, even Baker Mayfield with the Bucs, like he's changed that organization around completely since Brady left. So I don't know. I just think that the ability to add another guy is so huge. Nevada, what are your thoughts? RavyTube asks, with 3 playoff games where Will has played exceptionally well, what is the latest chatter on Will's NFL draft stock?
Yeah, I think he's a 2nd round guy. I think he's a 2nd round guy. Nothing will surprise me when it comes to NFL and quarterbacks, and a lot of it's going to have to do with how he does at the in his in the combine and the camps running up to it, and see if a team falls in love with him. But I've got him as a 2nd round guy.
Yeah, I mean, I just like I said, I've seen Paxton Lynch go in the 1st round, and I've seen I don't know. I've seen a lot of guys that were just so mid go in the 1st round. Guys that you just knew that they had no. Christian Hackenberg went in the 2nd round. Like, come on, guys. Like, what are we talking about? Is it just because I just think it's purely like if Will Howard came out of high school as a 5-star prospect, then I think he'd be in the mix for 1st round. But it's like I think that they hold against him. They just a 3-star guy from Kansas State, and it's like they weigh all of the stuff they did the previous few years versus all the stuff he's done this year, because he's a different player this year because of what Ryan and Chip Kelly have done for him, let alone our receivers. Chuck Chip Scoochie, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, brother. Why were we doing it just straight drop back until the 4th quarter? It was just like Michigan. I know it's because Texas is in zone, but still it helped Texas blitz every play, knowing that we weren't doing anything crazy. I agree. I did not think Chip had his best game in terms of the variety and moving the pocket. Again, I would move the pocket versus their good ends and make it a little tougher, but we didn't do that. Like I said, I thought the Oregon game plan was as good as we've ever had. Tennessee, I thought was really good. This one I thought was mid, and it kind of cost us. It made us easier to defend. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And again, that's why, like I said, I think this is totally okay to have a fair, not over the top criticism of any coach, any player, or whatever it is. And I think it's fair to say that I don't think he was as good calling the plays and doing the scheme against Texas as he was in the 2 previous playoff games. And that's what gives me confidence why I think he'll snap back with a good one on the 20th against Notre Dame. I really do. I think this has kind of been the pattern. We take one step back, and then we'll take 2 steps forward.
Michael Harry, thank you for the 10. Crazy to think about guys like Julian Fleming. This is a great comment right here. Leaves Ohio State for Penn State and has 14 catches for 176 yards and 1 touchdown on the year. Is that Drew Aller's fault, or is Fleming that bad? I think Fleming's just bad. He's a guy that was grossly overrated. He's a guy that, when we first started Buckeye Scoop, we were playing Scoop Dreams, and he was the number 1 5-star. He was basically like what JJ Smith is. He was the phenom 5-star number 1 guy, and that's what we thought he'd be, and he just never materialized. And everyone around him, from Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison, Emeka, they all turned into what people thought Julian was going to be, and so it was It was weird, but that's just kind of the thing about Ohio State is, once you get there, it's all kind of out on the table. And, he went to what he thought would be greener pastures. And honestly, it's great because, he wouldn't have played here this year because with JJ and Emeka and Tate, like he's going to be probably our fourth or fifth guy. And I think Ennis is better than he is. So I think sometimes like he's a classic, recruiting bust, and nothing wrong with him. Nice kid. But he's just, he was literally the number one receiver in the country, 5-star. And when you get someone like that in your program, you're thinking JJ or something, not J, maybe 80% of JJ. And he was, he could never separate. Nice kid, could block well and did the right things off the field, but just not a player, not an NFL guy. If you're not an NFL guy, you're never going to play at Ohio State receiver because that's kind of the standard now. So you got to be not just an NFL guy, but like a high level, first 2-round NFL guy. That's kind of where we're at. So, Nevada, your thoughts on Julian Fleming? Was that Drew Aller's fault, or is Fleming just that bad?
Aller is ass, my dude. I've been saying that for a long time.
Terrible.
He's terrible. He's just bad. So,
I mean
that nothing more really need to be said about that.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy that, like, I mean, these NFL people, and again, that's why these NFL GMs get fired every year because they suck at evaluating. I'm like, that's the guy that you want to hang It's like Mitch Trubisky, nice kid from Mentor. Remember when we were recruiting him with his family? They were down in the Woody Hayes, and it's like I thought he had a shot, but second overall in the draft over Mahomes and over Deshaun Watson, and I mean, he started like 12 games in college, and they're like, well, we're going to take him 2 overall because he's going to be Drew Brees. I'm like, I don't know if that's going to work out. I mean, that's kind of what Aller's got to go crazy high in the draft, and someone will take him, and he'll throw interceptions like he did that just absolutely kill you. And I don't know. It's funny. People talk about Will Howard making Titanic mistakes, so you better talk about Drew Aller because he's a human turnover. Rave YouTube, thank you for the 10. Also similar to everyone anointing Dan Lanning as the next Saban, CBS Sports thinks Marcus Freeman is the top 3 coach already. Me thinks Freeman is also in for a rude awakening from Ryan Day and company. Yeah, I mean, I think you got to pump the brakes on Marcus a little bit. I think that the biggest problem is that I think that the overall level of talent in the coaching profession has gone down since Nick Saban's gone, Urban Meyer's gone, Chip Kelly's an assistant. I think that a lot of the highest level coaches are either they're Dabo's his crestfallen, Kirby's the stars will shine off that star too. I think that it's not as high of a level as it was 7-8 years ago. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy, but like I just think that like it's like we played the game. If Ryan Day left and went to the Chicago Bears, like who would we want to hire? It's like, well, God, I guess Dan Lanning, but there's nobody that I'm just like, holy cow, let's go get that guy and our lives are going to be amazing. Am I wrong on that, Nevada? I mean, you can call me on that. Like, I mean, but CBS, I mean, Marcus being a top 3 coach is a little rich. I think that their path has been not easy, but Georgia not having their quarterback obviously is huge, and James Franklin choking like always is obviously whatever, but I don't know if he's the top 3 coach yet. I mean, I don't even know if Ryan Day left, if he'd be, I'm sure he'd probably be the lead target at this point just because he's got this momentum, but what are your thoughts?
I don't. Marcus is a nice guy, but he's not a great mind. He has not demonstrated at all that he's a great coach. And let's not minimize how easy their path was. Their path to the final was a home game against Indiana, a game against Georgia without their quarterback, and then Penn State. And by contrast, we had to play Tennessee, Oregon, and Texas at Texas. So, I mean, come on. I just think the media wants Marcus Freeman to be a great coach for a lot of reasons, for a lot of obvious reasons. I don't need to state them. But he's not a great coach, and that's going to get shown next Monday for sure.
Well, I mean, like, and again, I'm teammates with Marcus, so I'm not going to. But I mean, dude, they lost to Marshall last year. They lost to They've lost to not Power 5 schools last year. I mean, they lost to Northern Illinois at home, and they lost to Marshall last year. 2 straight years. I mean, those are cataclysmic losses to have at home when you're Notre Dame. But again, I think that we'll see. Let's talk about this next Tuesday and see where we're at. Jose Alvarez, thank you for the 5. The Caleb Downs safety backer position feels like the kind of schemes that changes the way everyone else plays. And Jim Knowles again. The three safety defense is something that he brought, and he's got the personnel to run it. The gimmicky. I almost said that, but I want to wait for you to chime in with it. But he's got the guys to do it now, and the other thing is he's got his guy coaching it. Because again, I think a big issue is Perry Eliano was a guy that for some unbeknownst reason Ryan's grown a lot. Like when like the old Bill Parcells line when he wanted to draft, a defensive player, and the Patriots took Terry Glenn, and Bill Parcells got all pissed off because he wanted to be the GM, and when Bob Kraft became the owner, he kind of took the GM title away from him, and he said, "Well, if you're gonna cook the meal, you should get to shop for the groceries." That's kind of what it's like when you hire a coordinator. So like when we hired Jim Knowles, Ryan, I don't want to say he went rogue, but he went out and hired Tim Walton and Perry Eliano. And in a three safety defense, when you've got three safeties on the field or two safeties in the nickel, whatever, like you better have a guy that's damn sure he knows how to coach that defense. And so Matt Guerrieri, or whatever his name is, was like a quality control coach. And if Jim Knowles had his druthers, he would have just made him the safeties coach from Jump Street. But instead, he had to go coach at Indiana for a year, and then coach at Tulsa for a year. He was the DC at Indiana last year, then he was at Tulsa, he's at Indiana, and then he showed back up here. He went to Tulsa for like 2 minutes with Kevin Wilson. Then he became the DC at Indiana, and then this year he came back to Ohio State as a safeties coach. So, that guy knows Jim Knowles' defense like the back of his hand, which is important. And Perry Eliano had to like kind of learn it on the fly. And it looked like it. So that's tough. So I think that Jim Knowles had, when he had his lieutenant and a guy that's likely a future head coach and our safeties coach running that room, the guys got better. And plus you add Caleb Downs. So let's not be stupid and act like Caleb Downs that make a huge difference. A lot easier to coach a guy like Caleb Downs, who's, a franchise level Sean Taylor type safety, top 5 pick type of safety. So, again, They do a lot of that to stop these crossing routes with the RPOs, the glance routes, those little 6-yard glance routes, those in-breaking routes. And it's effective, man, because when you put the most instinctive player in the middle of the field and he can basically cover everything, it's devastating. I mean, he can fill on the run. And he doesn't just play there. He plays Sam linebacker. He plays deep safety. He moves all over the place. I mean, I watched the film and like I got to find where he's at because they don't like to just leave him in one spot where he's static and people can figure out where he's at, because that makes it hell for these coordinators to say, well, we want to avoid where Caleb is because he's probably going to sniff this out. And they're like, oh man, he's playing linebacker now. I mean, he'll play Sam linebacker, walk over the slot. So just a difference maker, and he's a guy that I'm going to enjoy every single minute that he's here, because I don't know when we're going to see another guy like him. Nevada, your thoughts on Caleb Downs playing these schemes where he plays in the middle of the field, that safety linebacker spot? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to change college football. I mean, this is how change comes, whether it be spread offense, offensive innovations, or, little things that teams see, the offset back, wide receiver screen action. I mean, there's a million things, but no, I think you'll start to see more teams play. Not a lot of teams have a Caleb Downs, but I absolutely think that will be an innovation that we're going to see more of in the future, because it's so simplistically brilliant and highly effective, and really has been the key to this Ohio State defense going from really, really good to great. Was that singularly that move?
Yeah. Paul Lewis, again, thanks for the 50, brother. I appreciate you so much being a Scoop Hall of Famer. I take Caleb Downs because no one can take him out of any game. And that's a great call. Like with JJ, again, as great as he is and as much coverage as he draws, like, he got eliminated because he drew so much coverage. So you really have to rely on options B and C, which, again, when they're 2 first-rounders in Carnell Tate and Emeka Egbuka, then that's fine. But you don't always have those guys. So Caleb does everything right, and he erases everything. And again, there was probably a time where they're like, well, what are we going to do against these RPOs? Like, so, we're going to see Oregon again, like in midseason, lose to them, give a bunch of yards. Like, what are we going to do in the future to eliminate Oregon? Okay, let's put Caleb up front. Let's kind of make him a linebacker, bring him up a little bit more, let him read the eyes of the quarterback, go where the ball is, and make plays all over the field. And that's Jim Knowles being a genius. Genius. Let's create a whole new defense where Caleb Downs gets to rove around and make plays and use his speed and his instincts and his awareness to be the best defensive player in the country, which he is. You know, I mean, him and Abdul Carter are just different level dudes. Those are once in a generation type guys. And yeah. Nevada, your thoughts? And Paul, he agrees with us and he says he'd take downs because you can't take him out of any game. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, defense is one of those things where, hard to scheme around a guy that's in the middle of the field that's got that kind of instincts that can run from side to side. And yeah, I agree with you. Like good defense travels. Offense can be somewhat transitory, can kind of come and go, and it depends on weather and domes and a lot of other things. And look, the bottom line is JJ needs somebody else to get him the ball. Caleb doesn't need anybody. He just sees ball, finds ball, destroys, and doesn't need anybody else to get in between him and doing his job.
Will 8282, thanks for the deuce. It says Scoop and Sawyer. I think that one's someone's got that on a shirt already, I think, but I like that one. That one makes the most sense to me because it's short and concise, which I think is critical for something like that. But I love that. And again, Jack, it couldn't happen to a better guy, and Jack should trademark that pretty quick, I think. Tim Z, thank you for the 5. Love you guys. Just dropped in. Wasn't able to find the scum allegations on the NCAA site. What was it again? Nevada, go Bucks. Go Bucks. Any thoughts on the allegations about it? I know that it's out there somewhere. I don't know where it is. I'm sure you don't either, but someone said it's out there because they're trying to get the information, the Freedom of Information Act requests done for it, I think.
Are you saying is there a new thing or just you're talking about the old stuff?
What's up?
Are you saying that there's some new piece of news on this that you've seen?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen anything.
Oh,
I
okay.
Honestly, like I mean, this is really I don't know anything about the Michigan thing, and I don't really care because I'm like you. Like the national championship is about to get played in a week, so I'm like you. I don't care about the Michigan stuff at all unless something crazy breaks or we get some sort of a big tip. Like, I don't think it's going to break till after the season. But have you heard anything different?
No, I think it's going to be it's any day. Their bowl game's done. They've got to do it. But as you're well aware, you and I have both been involved in Freedom of Information Act requests. The schools aren't under any particular timeline to fulfill them. So they can say they'll do it in 3 months. They can do it in 6 months. They can do it in 9 months. They can do it in 5 years. And media outlets just need to keep bugging them and suing them and doing stuff, but eventually they'll get it. But we'll see when it comes, it comes. But the NCAA's continue to crank along, and the wheels of justice are slow, but they're eventually going to get there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Nevada, I know you're dying. Let's wrap this. Oh, we got one more. Sorry, I was so close to getting you out of here, and then we get a roll. If you guys want to keep Nevada up for the rest of his life, just keep sending super chats. Nevada's had a very long day, so
a long day. It's been a long,
very long. Chuck Chip Scoochie, thanks for the deuce. Did y'all get an update on Wilson? No, I have not heard anything on Wilson. Didn't really check. I've been working on some other stuff, more team based stuff. Yeah, anything on Damon Wilson, Nevada?
Yeah, I heard he's in, and I think they're going to get him done. So I know there was some question. I think that there were some problems getting him up here, but it was just travel logistics. It wasn't anything to do. We'll know more about this whole Missouri thing and was Missouri really out front in the bag or not. But he's in town, and I think Ohio State's going to land him.
Yeah, this thing called ice and snow. It's not fun. All right, Nevada, let's wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
Let's wrap it up. No, I'm so excited about the way that the game plan's coming together, the way the team's coming together. Loving the fact that we're healthy, loving the fact that Notre Dame's not, and I think we're gonna have a big party down in Atlanta. You get a chance to come. Everybody but Kirk should be down there, and let's have a good time.
I hope you never go to bed. I hope that your plane gets delayed. I hope that you get frozen on the runway in Helsinki. I hope you get frozen there for 7 days. I hope it's a blizzard and you never get home. And it's like, oh, look at this nice row of 8 tickets that are just unused. And I'm gonna go there and lay across all your tickets and be like, oh, I remember when Nevada was supposed to be used to these. I'm just gonna lay across all of them. So all right, I got one more. You can get out of here because I know that you're about to die because you're tired because it's about 7 a.m. in Finland right now. Josh Dillon, thanks for the 20. What a win. Was starting to lose faith when it was a 14-14. My lovely wife never lost it. Got to take some notes from her. This game feels like an Alabama versus Notre Dame 2012. That's a great comparison. That's how I feel. And we are Bama, Ohio State 49-14. OH, I'll do IO because Nevada is exhausted. Go Bucks, go Bolts. I think it's going to be like that 12 game too. I think that they're going to be shocked by our speed. We played them last year, and obviously it was close, but I just think that Notre Dame team last year was much better. I really do. I mean, they had Joe Alt is a Pro Bowl tackle, had a great rookie season. They had their line I thought was much better last year. They had Estimate, who's a really good back, and their backs this year are good, but Estimate was a horse. And it took us like everything to get to the last issue, but I think that they're much worse and we're much better. Last year we didn't have JJ, didn't have Caleb Downs, didn't have our defense wasn't as good as it is now. So yeah, I think that it's going to get ugly, and I'm just really excited for this game. It's going to be awesome, and I will be podcasting live. I might even do a live cast. Would you guys want me to do a live watch party on here? Because I got nothing else to do, so it's a Monday night, and I could fire this thing up, and we could watch the game together. Put that in the comments. I want to know if you guys would be up for that. Because if you are, let's go. So let me know. Well, I'm going to wrap this show up. My partner has headed off to bed. His daughter did great. I was really proud of her. She got got the silver medal, but she was the goaltender of the tournament, which she had the best goaltending tournament of all time. Obviously, she didn't win. They didn't score. They got shut out today, so it's hard when you're a goal if your team doesn't score. But her goals, most shutouts ever, lowest goals against. I mean, she was on fire. So congratulations to little Nevada. You know who you are. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys kicking on with us each and every night. Again, a huge week of content coming this way for you guys. We'll be breaking down some more film. I should be getting more film in pretty quick here. But again, I just appreciate all that you guys do. So you guys will do something huge for us. If you guys want to ensure, if you want to lock in with good karma that Ohio State will win the national title, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. Search for Buckeye Scoop. Click subscribe, and do it on Spotify. If you want to double make sure that we beat Notre Dame, that is the easiest path to victory of all time. It's written in the stars. Follow Buckeye Scoop on the podcast channels, specifically Apple Podcasts and Spotify and YouTube, and we will guarantee a national title. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 7:10. We'll be ready to roll. You guys have a great night. Go Bucks.